Indirect tax. The transaction 1 and 2 below that determine whether the amount received was liable to tax. Briefly explain the applicable statutory provisions supporting your conditions. So ABC is a registered bank received check discounting charges of 5,250 from customer. Check discounting is not taxable, but as per the supply, discounting charges is taxable. T Limited is a dealer in air conditioners supplied each unit in the list price of 30,000 per unit. He also have an EMI scheme where the customer had take delivery from the air conditioner monthly EMI 10,500 payable in 3 installment. T Limited charges 600 extra for every delay in payment of monthly installment. If the amount was recovered from the customer, the Venkat has delay payment into second installment. The delayed in installment, any amount of penalty paid that is subject to tax at the rate of the AC unit. Aerospace airlines have registered a place of business in Mumbai under GST, issued a ticket from London to Delhi into Ahmed Khan, resident in Agra, UP, who is not registered in GST, determine the place of supply. Place of supply is London because that was a ship's ticket located and the service is done from Delhi to from London to Delhi. So even though he is the place of business Agra, the service was received on London. From London he is going, so service like in London. So London is the place of business. Check discount is exempted from GST only in the extent of consideration represented by way of discount. Any charges over the discount is not exempt under the GST. The charges recovered on check is discount by the ABC Limited liable to GST. In this above question, it has been assumed that the check is discounting charges has been service charges collected over and above the discount. However, it is also possible to assume that the said charges represent discount amount. In that case, the said charges will be exempt from GST. Services of extending deposit. Services of extending the loans advance so far as consideration present by of interest is exempt. The extra charges recovered by the delay in payment of second monthly installment is taxable and it is includable in the value of supply by the air conditioner. Place of supply of passengers transportation service Mr. Ramit Khan and unregistered person to London. There is a place where they embarked in conveyance of a continuous journey. You can see this another question. You can see one thing. What happens? What Amazon is doing? Amazon or other products like what they are doing is they buy from the whole dealer and for item X for rupees per unit 10,000. The market price, that is the MRP price will be around 18,000. Total marketplace, what is the market price? All the reseller will be selling is at 12,000. They will be putting, we are providing this much percentage of discount, that is a 30% discount we are applying on the MRP, and we are providing you something very discount price. That way, they will say something or 40% discount they will see. Now, what is happening is on the 10,000, this Amazon will have Amazon Pay now, pay later option. They will sell the same good for 10,000 and they will charge interest of rupees 2,000 or they will charge interest for around 1,500. So now what happened is actually if they sold the same if I kind of mobile phone 28 percentage on 10,000 how much tax input 2,800 rupees. If it been sold for 12,000, 2,000 rupees on with 28% extra need to pay GST. That comes to what? 560 rupees. Right. So then Amazon what they are doing is of paying the GST amount, the input and output is matched. The variation is only 500 rupees because I'm selling over 500 rupees. But the 1500 rupees directly goes as the interest income because they have an NBFC form. This interest income is exempted under GST. By the way, they need not to pay any tax. Pakka idea. This what these Amazons are doing. Amazon, Flipkart are trying to do. This EMI card, whatever the bullshit they are bringing on us, this is what they're doing. Through this, they will say that now zero EMI policy. This is this zero EMI policy. Hmm. Nobody can ask a question because if they say MRP price you are not selling, that's maximum retail price. The minimum retail price is 10,000. I'm selling for 10,500. 1,500 is interest. If you want, you can try it. Once you put in a zero EMI policy and 30 days you need to pay now, you will see in that bill there will be an interest amount. True. XYZ consultancy registered in Bangalore supplies technical consultancy service to its clients. Okay. Providing technical service to BA Mumbai past 2 years. Consideration was settling the BA limited assignment twice. Okay. BA limited has paid 57 lakh to XYZ consultancy for 10th January 2024 on XYZ consulting for aging not to provide similar technical service to any other business entity in India or abroad for the period of 8 years. Consideration paid for not doing a service, not doing an act. That is also supply. XYZ Limited view that 37 is not chargeable tax, but is chargeable to GST. You are required to examine whether the view taken by XYZ consultant is valid in law. Calculate the GST liability of XYZ consultancy. In the case you feel the GST is chargeable, a round of the tax amount due according to law, the technical service provided by the XYZ consultancy, otherwise chargeable to IGST rate of 18%. XYZ has been discharging GST liability on consulting charges. And we noted that. So in this 37 lakhs is inclusive of tax. By this you can do. In this case, XYZ consultancy is providing services for agreeing obligation to refrain from the act to be limited against consideration 37 lakhs. Therefore, the same is liable to tax. This is a view taken by XYZ consultant is incorrect. Since the supply of service, supplies of supply is said service is occasion of recipient that is Mumbai and supplies located in Bangalore and said service of interstate supply 18%. So GST liability IGST is 37 lakhs divided by 1.8 is for 5 lakhs for 64,402 rate of tax applicable to service of agreeing to obligation to refrain from doing that. Since the GST is not being separately collected from the supply, the consideration is assumed to be inclusive of tax. Vasudev is a mining contractor. He has crossed the threshold limit of registration in the preceding financial year and it is now duly registered under GST in the state of Gujarat. He has undertaken the following transaction during the month of April. What? Vasudev is operating members in mining and exploring services in Aliapat oil field and Bhavan Nagar, Gujarat. He is providing certain services to joint venture at the same site in which he is also a member. He believes that the consideration received from joint venture cost recovery is not taxable but it's exclusive of tax, but it's taxable. He's purchased certain machinery from Mumbai, Maharashtra, render the service of JV input climate line. He has obligated, he has obtained professional service from a senior advocate of Ahmedabad and Gujarat represented by him, manner of the tribunal. Unlike the RCM basis, he need to pay tax. He is allotted an office or rent. He has allotted an office on rent by a state government of Gujarat close to the seashore of the Alibad oil field. He need to pay RCM basis, he need to pay GST. He got the portion of the petroleum slit non-taxable under GST as part of the compensation while exploring the petroleum reserves in Alipet oil field, and which as per the contract with the agreement of cost of petroleum, 8 lakh exempted. He sells the petroleum slits under the SEC developer to Bhavan Nahar, Gujarat. He is already filed a in GST. Any supply to SEs is exempted 750,000. Consideration received in the nature of recovery of bond around to case of three employees leaving the employment before the minimum period of 1 year as per the terms of contract. Employee relationship is out of the scope of GST. Consideration received towards the transfer of tenancy rights in Gujarat is according to the Vasudev is not liable to GST suffer stamp duty. Even though they suffer stamp duty, tenancy right transfer is liable to tax. Consideration received by mining license mining lease holders for the renting five dumpers including driver given by the transport bundles within the mining area for a period of 2 years. The leasing of rent equipment is taxable service. He had been assigned to mining right from the government and the amount of IGST involved the royalty payment. So this he need to pay. He was assigned the mining right from the government. The amount of IGST involved of the royalty payment is 3 lakhs. Okay. This royalty amount can be claimed as input actually. Vasudev was filed a bond or LUT to claim benefit of zero rate supply. Okay. Assuming CGST 5% and SGST, IGST 5.5 just. Assume CGST, SGST 9%. The opening balance is 34,000. The cash ledger, SGST, that's bought forward 15,000, 50,000 cash ledger, SGST, CGST. From the upward, compute the minimum net GST payable Vasudeva for the month of April 24. GST liability and outward supply. Considering of service provided by the operating members of joint venture 15 lakhs and 9%, 9%. The operating members providing mining and exploring service to joint venture, thus the consideration received is not cost of petroleum that's liable to tax. Okay. Compensation received by the petroleum slit, which is a contract with the government part of cost of petroleum. Cost of petroleum is not considered for service to the government, thus it's not taxable. Correct. Sale of petroleum slit to SEZ developer. Supply of SE is a developer zero rated supply such under bond annuities, no tax to be paid on the same. Correct. Bond amount covered from the employees leaving employment before the zero stipulated period. Not a supply since the bond is recovered or not. 75,000. Consideration tolerating of act as a premature quitting of that employment. Transfer of tenancy right. Tenancy of transfer of tenancy right is a new tenant against a consideration in form of tenancy premium is taxable, even though stamp duty has been paid in the same tax. Renting of dumpers, including drivers, taxable for 9%. Total tax outward liability is this. Need to be for RCM basis, GS liability of inward supply and RCM basis. Professional service provided by the senior advocate Vasudeva business center, we need to pay. Renting of office provided by the state government Vasudeva, we need to pay. Assigned to mining rate of government right, we need to pay 3 lakhs, 336. This we need to pay and we can claim input again. It is assumed that immovable property respect of tenancy rights are transferred to the commercial property and the same located in Gujarat. Renting of dumper include driver and the mining lease holder is an assumed to be interstate transaction, although it is also possible to assume that said transaction is interstate transaction. In the case of IGST, 90,000 will be charged. Input account opening 50,000, 90,000, 15,000. Interstate purchase machinery 8 lakhs input IGST. Professional senior advocate IGST. This we need to input again. Printing of information also input. Assignment of minus. Total ITC that is the 680. But no. Computation of tax payable. Total liability of output 34,224. Let ICTC 253. ITC 5G IGST 3 lakh 20,000 കളിച്ചോളൂ plus ITC on CGST 86 45,000 reverse charge liability payable is this 36 the 36,000 3 lakhs and panamna balance in cash is 34,000 so 36,000 2,000 3 lakhs we need to pay back. RCM liability it can be claimed input but Only it can be claimed input by paying the tax. RCM is without paying the tax, you can claim input. The best way of doing it, RCM is pay the tax. Somewhere it should be paid. Without paying, how can you take claim input? Mrs. Deva Fashion is a registered supplier in Luthina, Punjab under GSL. He has made the following supplies in the month of February. Supply of designer silk dresser packed in a designer box boutique in Mumbai, Punjab to Mumbai as per the contract entered into the boutique more than 25 lakhs IGST supply. So it is a composite supply or not? You can need normal supply. Supply of 600 kits, 1000 each, about 6 lakhs to Mrs. of Mumbai, Punjab, intrastate. Each kit can consist of one silk of dupatta, and one sari, and one lipstick. So these three dupatta, pouch, and lipstick is in composite supply. Okay, this is mixed supply. I think so. Mixed. Mrs. Deva Fashion organizing fashion show in Chhattisgarh. Zone Export is registered in Rajasthan has sponsored the show for Mrs. Deva Fashion. Received 70%. So they has been sponsored it and she received from Rajasthan. That place is happening in Chhattisgarh. But received when who what is the place of happening is important. So CGST. 200 kit has been given a free of gift to consumer occasion of fifth anniversary to Mrs. Deva Fashion. Each kit is one silk dupatta, one sari brooch. Cost kit 350. The open market value of the kit and cost is open market value of this kit and goods will be like kind of quality is not available. Input tax credit not has been taken. So no input tax not related. No, it's not taxable. Not taxable. A professional service is provided free of cost to Mr. Deva to her independent marriage sister to set up her own boutique in Delhi. Cost of professional service 1 lakh, but the open market value service on silk like kind is not available. To his sister is exempted, not taxable service. Mrs. Deva Fashion entered the contract first February, 3 years for Mrs. Swikika and the local model to act as a brand ambassador to the product for 1 lakh. So that 1 lakh local, where she lives as a local ambassador, okay. And determinate the contract already. As per the contract, Mr. Deva Patient is 25% total contract fees paid to Mrs. Vika as the contract is terminated before 31 years. And received the contract fee of 2 years at the time of termination of the contract. Okay. All the above amounts are exclusive GST, which is all paid interest of 8850 on delay of making payments to Mr. Devika Fajar. Okay. Inclusive GST. Assume the interest rate silk 18% 99, designer box 28% 40%, silk dupatta 12%, composite saree brooch 15 18, lipstick 5 years, sponsor services 28 percentage, professional service 18 percentage. From the following information, computer GST liability, mixed supply எல்லாமே இருக்கு. Computation of GST liability, supply of silks dresses to designer boxes. Designer box, it is a mixed supply. And since supply of silk dresses in the designer box naturally bundled, so it is composite. Natural bundle is composite supply in which is treated as a supply of principal supply is a silk dress according to the rate of a silk dress, so 18 percentage. Supply of kit like silk dupatta, sari, brooch, and lipstick. These are not naturally bundled. Silk price is better charged. It is a mixed supply. It's treated as a supply of particular supply at the highest tax 28 percentage, 18 percentage. Since the sponsor activities are provided by the body corporate Xeon and this they are payable under the RCM basis. Free gifts to consumers, not a supply. So without consideration is also not. It's also not covered under Schedule One because the supply consumers not a rate person. Professional service providing free of course not a supply as it made without consideration is also not covered in Schedule One because the sister being independent is not a rate person. Free receive he received from the termination of contract being an liquidated damage. They are merely composition of loss due to the breach of the contract, not and considered as not considered as tolerating of non-performance of contract. Interest received for delay payment inclusive of GST, exclusive of GST, but it considers inclusive of GST. Inclusive value of original supply, therefore, since it's received in February till the time of supply will be received as February. Yes, liability. Must access a trader dealing exclusive supply of goods and paying tax under the normal scheme. Also eligible for compulsion scheme. Submit the following details of coming financial year. You are required to determine the scheme will be more beneficial to him. Whether Mr. X opt for compulsion scheme or examine the data of counting financial year 2025 following. Particular amount. Inward supply of goods and registered supplier. Amount exclusive of GST. Goods chargeable to normal rate 12%. And inward supply register supply taxable 18 okay. Outward supply to unregistered person normal rate 12 percentage. Okay. Okay. Circular 3, it does almost logically assume that the interest pertains to a country which may be mirror. Okay. In her nature expenses were like 50,000 per year. Both the schemes and the books of accounts maintain the cost of nominal 2 lakhs a year. However, under composition scheme, it will be 70,000 per year. Return filing expenses are normally 40,000 a year, whereas under composition scheme, 12,000 per year. Composition scheme, regular scheme, tax payable under GST 90,000. Composition have 90 lakhs into 1 percentage. But in the regular scheme, totally different how it is 12% GST. Na? You have input also there now. So how much? 70 lakhs minus 90 lakhs, 20 lakhs inherent expenses. Okay, 8 lakh 35,000, 714 into 5 million. 90 lakhs divided by 1.12. 80,000 35, 712. So 90 lakhs divided by 1.12 quota, we will get this 80 lakhs into 12%, 9 lakhs. Then input 80 lakh, 8 lakh 40, 70 lakhs and 12%, 8 lakh 40,000. You want to pay 124,000, 90,000. Inherent expenses, 4 lakh 50,000 common. Sub accounts maintenance 75,000. For that, we are not paying GST or not 2 lakhs and return filing expenses. So, our cost of inward supply is 78,400 because that they include GST. He has only 70 lakhs, 70,000, 70 lakhs. Cost after involved 8476, sales proceed 90 lakhs, 80 lakhs. So profit margin 5 lakh 33,000, 3 lakh 37,000. So it is concluded that Mr. X would offer composition scheme for the financial year. It is more beneficial for him. Note that outward supply excluding GST, outward supply is excluding GST. Mrs. Deva is registered as an non-regular taxpayer under the GST Mumbai, Maharashtra to July 2017. It is turnover of the previous year is 23 2 crore. He provided the following information pertaining to the outward supply during the year. Particulars amount charged manufacturer than taxable. In the case of it, one day composition scheme, now if there's a manufacturer, he need to pay plus GST on both the taxable and non-taxable. In the trader, we need to pay tax only on taxable goods, non-exempt goods. He need to go need not to pay tax. Service by way of storage, warehouse of raw material, raw vegetable fibers, cotton, such as cotton, flax, jute, taxable, exempted. Following other information in the outward supply. Supply by online mathematician journal to model schools for secondary higher education exempted. Like a composite supply of goods and service to Maharashtra state government, state development corporations, government entity that may activities relating to function interested in Panchayat Act 243G Constitution. Value of supply of Constitution 100% of composite taxable. Value made by the panchayat is exempted. Valid 2 is taxable. Sitting fees received by attending the committee meeting of independent director 1 lakh taxable RCM basis. It has been assumed that GST not charged on the inherent expenses, some books and accounts, and adding alternate presentation as is also possible. The insurance commission received on the insurance agent and XYZ insurance registered under GST insurance is taxable. Service provided to state government for the Maharashtra for conducting fitness training program to employees. 70% total expenditure incurred by the program was borne by state government. Still taxable. 31% taxable. The honorarium received by the Mr. Dev to appear and guest in activity taxable. Honorarium taxable. Amount received for a service provided to the recognized sports body as a commentator. Service national sports taxable. From the above information, compute the GST liability of Mr. D on the tax liability paid 24. A supply of interest supplies on CGST 9%. Okay. A store warehouse of raw material fiber. Service based storage of warehouse of raw vegetables fiber is not exempt. Okay, not exempt. Okay, exempt. Supply of online journals not exempt since the service is exempted only when they are provided to an educational institution providing education as a part of curriculum. As part of curriculum, for obtaining recognized qualification. Thus, the exemption of GST is not available to service provided by secondary and higher secondary school. Composite supply of goods of several state governments not exempt or taxable. Correct. Such are not exempt. Such exemption since exemption is respect of composite supply of goods and service by way of activities undertaken to any function or interest by the panchayat under 240G constitution is not available. The supply is made by government entity. Sitting fees, RCM basis. Sitting fees attending meeting is independent director. The service provided by independent director of a company is not in course in relation to employment and is outside the scope of Schedule 3 of GST. So qualified to supply further tax would be service payable by the company and reverse charge mechanism. Insurance received by insurance commission. Tax on the service provided by insurance agency insurance company is payable and reverse basis correct. Service provided to state government of fitness training not exempt since the service provided by the state government, any of the training program exempt only 75% or more of the total expenditure same is borne by the 75% or 75% of it taxable. And honorarium received appearance guest lecture liable to GST since it is not especially exempt and is not declared as a neither a supply or goods nor a supply service schedule 3. Service provided by the recognized stock exchange of commentator and the service of an individual for a commentator of recognized sport body but not exempt. So taxable. Super. Topic not a task but equally important for examination. Write a short note on charge of tax. Taxable event. Two types of taxable event. Taxable event. It's the basis of the charge of tax or any other taxable statute of taxable event. Taxable event is a point on which the levy of tax has been attracted. Under the GST, the taxable event is a supply, CGST, SGST, UTAG is a levy tax on all intrastate supplies of goods and services, including while IGST is levy on the intrastate supply of goods and services. Two types of taxable event. The two types of taxable events: intrastate supply, intrastate supply. Intrastate supply when the location of a supplier and the place of supply of the goods and service on the same state. Location of supplier and place of supply. The same state or union territory then treated as the intrastate supply of goods and service. Interstate supply, where location of the supply and the place of supply of goods or that are two different state or two different union territory or a state and union territory is treated as the interstate supply of goods and service. A short note on levy and collection of CGST, IGST, SGST, UTGST. Levy of CGST, UGST, SGST. This tax is called central government service tax. Union territory goods and service tax, state goods and service tax. The levy on all the intrastate supply of goods and service both are collected in such a manner as may be prescribed and paid by the taxable person. However, intrastate supplies of alcoholic liquor for human consumption is outside the scope of CGST, UTGST, and SGST. levy of IGST. Similarly, integrated goods and service tax levied on all the interstate supplies of goods or service, both with the exemption of alcoholic liquor. However, IGST on the goods imported into India is leviable on collection accurate on the provision of Section 3 of Customs Tariff Act 1975 on the said goods on the Section 12 of the Customs Act 1962. Value of levy transaction, value of Section 15 CGST Act. Rate of CGST, IGST, SGST, UGST. The rate of CGST, UGST, SGST, IGST rate can be notified by the government on the recommendation of CSDST Council. Rate notified 5, 18, 28. GST is approximately the total sum of CGST and SGST. Maximum rate of CGS is 20%, while the IGS is maximum 40%. Before the deformed on levy. However, CGST, UTST, SGST, IGST, or supply of following items not been levied immediately, which shall be levied with the effect of such a date as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of council. Petroleum, crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, common purpose petrol, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel. Reversed as a tax payable by the recipient or supply of goods or services by CGST, UGST, SGST, IGST shall be paid by the recipient goods on the service of both. Such reversed as in the following cases when the recipient is certain class of registered person, when the purchased goods or service belong to certain classes. Application of relevant provision of GST. All the provision of relevant GST law shall be applied to the recipient in the aforesaid cause as if the person is liable to paying tax in relation to the supply of goods and services or both. Tax payable by the electronic commerce operator notified service. Government may so notify specific categories of service on tax on interstate supplies. The interstate supplies in the IGST in which are paid by the electronic commerce operator. If such service are supplied to them, such service shall be notified the recommendation of GST Council. All the provision of the relevant GST law shall apply to such electronic commerce operators who is the supplier liable to pay tax in relation to supply of such services. What are the taxes that are levied in the interstate supply? In Section 9 of CGST 2017, interstate supplies are liable to CGST, SGST term Section 7 UTGST 2017. Interstate supply affects the taxable portion of your union territory, including union territory liable to CGST and UTGST. How to ascertain the taxable value of leaving CGST, SGST, and UTGST? Section 50 of CGST Act of 70 specifies that the value of supply of goods or service both shall be transaction value, which is price actually paid or payable for said supply of goods and service or both where the supplier and the recipient of supply are not related and the price is sole consideration of supply. Further, Section 15 provides a certain inclusion which will form part of the value. Incidental expenses, commission, interest, penalty, etc. In case where the supplier and recipient related persons or where the price is not sole consideration, provided the method of ascertaining the value of taxable supplies as provided as by the valuation rule shall apply. Who is responsible to pay tax? Generally, a person affecting taxable supplies is liable to pay tax. However, the following certain exemption. A reverse charge, the supply of goods and service or both may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council, tax on which is paid by the recipient under the reverse charge mechanism. E-commerce categories of service may be notified by the government on recommendation of the council of tax, which may be paid by the electronic commerce operator. Such services are applied to it. What does the payment of tax under reverse charge mean? Section 2, Class 90. The terms reverse charge is defined in the means of liability to pay by the recipient of supply by the goods and service of both instead of supplied by the goods or service or both. What's the different type of supplies which is liable to tax under the reverse charge mechanism? Section 9 class 4 9 class subsection 4 reverse charge the recipient of inward supply from an unregistered supplier to applicable only to certain class of registered person on a purchase of certain goods and services. Other tax on interstate supply is applicable to every supplier. No. Section 9 1 the chargeable provision of levy and collection of tax of intrastate supplies excluding supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Further, the terms of Section 9 to Tax on the supply of petroleum, crude, high speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel shall be levied in the effect of such a deed as may be notified by the government on recommendation of the council. Accordingly, supply of alcoholic liquor of human consumption is not liable to tax under CGST Act. Whether CGST, SGST, UT is applicable to import of goods or service or both. Section 7 of the IGST Act of 17, import of goods and service or both shall be treated to be supply in the course in interstate trade or commerce. Accordingly, tax under the provision of IGST Act of 17 shall apply in the import of goods and service or both. What are the provisions relating to composition scheme under GST Act? The provision relating to composition scheme is given in Section 10 of the CGST Act. Therefore, that explains as follows. Meaning of composition scheme. Composition scheme means simplified scheme for small businessmen to provide relief for the complex compliance and provision of the law. Optimal nature. The composite scheme is optimal nature where businessmen can offer pay a fixed percentage of turnover as a fee in lieu of tax and be received from the detailed complaints or provision of the law. The composition leave would be generally opted by a person who is supplied of goods and service of both in the customer. Eligible to Section 10(1). The registered person whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year does not cross 1.5 crores can offer composition scheme and then northeastern states like Himachal Pradesh limit to 75 lakhs. What is aggregate turnover? Section 2, Class 6 of the subsection 6 of the CGST. Aggregate turnover means aggregate value of taxable supplies excluding inward supply which taxes payable by the registered person of reverse mechanism exempted supplies excluding export of goods and exporting excluding export of services are both of interstate supplies a person having permanent account number. So to compute all the Indian basis, but I exclude central tax and state tax, union territory tax and integrated tax and cess. Composite tax rate. Section 10, subsection 1 of CGST Act prescribe the rate of tax as on exist. Eligible person, a rate of tax, total rate of tax. Manufacturer 0.5, traders of goods 0.5, restaurant services 0.2, 2.55%. Service provider mixed supplier 3%, 6%. Yeah, ineligible to opting composition scheme. Following persons are ineligible for opting composition scheme. Supply of certain mixed supplies whose turnover exceed 50 lakhs. Supplier of goods and service is not taxable under CGST, SGST, UGST Act. Any interstate supplier of goods and service, person supplying service through electronic commerce operator who is required to collect tax under Section 2552. Manufacture certain notified goods on the Class B of Para 6 of Schedule 2, like ice creams, other edible ice, pan masala, aerated water, tobacco. Casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. Adaptation of composition scheme uniformly from provision to Section 10 to all registered person have a same PAN but have to offer composition scheme. In one registered person offer normal scheme, the other becomes ineligible for composition scheme. Example, he has a person of two offices. One is in Delhi selling stationery, another in Uttar Pradesh selling garments. The register same, but now he has to either to offer composition scheme for both office. Otherwise, he can't offer composition scheme in Delhi or normal scheme in Uttar Pradesh. Validity of composition levy in Section 10, Class 3, reading with Rule 6. The composition scheme shall be available to registered person till they satisfy all the conditions mentioned in the applicable sections and rules. The option to pay tax under the composition scheme lapses for the day in which aggregate turnover during the financial year exceeding the prescribed level 1.5 crores. Such persons liable to pay normal tax section 9(1) on the day and ceases to satisfy any of the conditions prescribed in the composition scheme. Not eligible to collect tax section 10(4). Taxable person opting for composition scheme shall not be repeatedly collect any tax on the recipient or supply made to the non-availment of input tax credit. Taxable person opting for composition scheme shall not be repeatedly entitled to carry credit to input tax. Penalty for violation of composition scheme section 10(5) following are the consequence of non-compliance with the conditions specified shall be liable to pay additional taxes and rates of applicable to regular taxable person shall be liable to penalty. An amount of tax and penalty shall be recovered in the terms of section 73, 74 CGST Act of 70. Third person is liable to pay GST in the following independent cases provided by the recipient located in the actual territory. Service provided by an arbitrator tribunal or any business entity is exempted. By an arbitrator is exempted. As a sponsorship service provided by a company to individual, a taxable reverse such basis. A renting of immovable property service provided by the central government to business entity taxable. Since GST and service provided to agree to provided by the tribunal arbitral tribunal to any business entity located in taxable territory is payable under reverse charge mechanism. In the given case, GST payable will receive in business entity. GST on sponsorship activities, any person or any body, corporate or partnership firm located in taxable territory is payable under reverse charge mechanism. Since the given case, the service has been provided to an individual, reverse charge basis will not attract as GST payable under the forward by the supplier company. And GST on the service provided to agree to provide by a central government, state government, union territory, local authority to any business entity located in the taxable territory payable under reverse charge. However, the renting of immovable property is exemption to it. Therefore, in the given case, a reverse charge provision will not be attracted. GST is payable under the forward by the supplier, central government itself. Can any person other than the supplier or recipient is liable to pay tax under GST? Yes, the government can specify category of service that tax on which is paid by the electronic commerce operator. If it is a service or supplied through it, all the provision of CGSA law shall apply to electronic commerce operator as it is a person liable to pay tax in relation to the supply of such service. For the purpose of services by way of transportation of passengers by the radio taxi, motor cab, taxi cab, motorcycles, and service by way of providing accommodation in hotels, inns, and guest houses and clubs and campsites or other commercial places made by a residential or lodging purpose, except where the person supply of service through electronic commerce operators is liable to registration and supply through e-commerce will be notified. A person having composition scheme in Haryana during the financial year crosses 1.5 crores during the course of year. He's crossed 1.5 crores in December. Will he allow to pay tax on the composition scheme for remaining year till 31st March? No. The option to pay tax under composition scheme lapses from the day which is aggregate turnover of the person availing composition scheme during the financial year exceeds specifically 1.5 crores. He is required to file an intimation to withdraw from the scheme and prescribed form within 7 days from the day in which a threshold limit has crossed. Hotel owner provide accommodation in Haryana through an electronic commerce operator, Cool Trips. This hotel owner is not liable to get registered under the provision of Section 22 of the GST Act. Who is in person liable to pay GST in this case? Would you answer the different in electronic commerce operator? Cool Trips does not have any physical presence in India. Government may notify in recommendation of GST council specific categories of service in tax and interstate supplies in which shall be paid by the electronic commerce operator. If such services are supplied through it, service by way of putting accommodation in hotels through electronic commerce operator specified in the provision. A person liable to pay GST in the case of electronic commerce operator cool trips, all the provision of the GST law shall be applied. Such electronic commerce operator in the supplier liable to paying tax and in supply of service. The cool trip does not have physical presence in India. The person liable to pay tax in the person is representing electronic commerce operator, cool trip, and any other purpose in India. Determine whether the supplier is in the following case are eligible for composition levy. Composition levy provided by the turnover exceeding during 50 lakhs 1.5 years. No one engaged in providing legal service in Rajasthan is registered in the same state. No. composition not. Sugar manufacturers registered in Punjab and Haryana, supply of goods to neighboring states. Interstate not rival. Supply of service and mixed supply would be eligible for composition scheme in the turnover of the exceeding doesn't exceed 50 lakhs. Tax is 6%. In the given case, Mohan is providing legal service. Assuming that the for proceeding turnover doesn't come 50 lakhs, he can opt for composition scheme. Since the supply of interstate supply, outward supply of goods is not eligible for composition leave, so government manufacturers not eligible for composition leave. Morgan Enterprise 2 registered business vertical in Delhi. Its aggregate turnover preceding year is a business verticals of 1.15 crores, which is to pay tax under the composition leave for one of the vertical this year, current year, while normal leave in the other vertical. They are required to advise Mohan whether to don't know. Registered person aggregate turnover preceding financial 1.5 crores eligible for composition leave in Delhi. Since aggregate turnover Mohan does not exceed 1.4 crore, he is eligible for composition leave in current year. However, all registered person having the same PAN does not opt for have to opt for composition scheme. Can't opt out of composition scheme in one area. If one such registration opt out for normal scheme, the others became ineligible for composition scheme. Thus, Moha enterprises either have to opt composition leave for both the verticals under the normal review or both verticals composition scheme. Thank you.